I'm Alex. This is Code Along with Alex, and today we're going to write and test a Sway contract. Let's get into it. So I already have the whole fuel up or fork toolchain installed and created the directory. So let's use fork to create a new project for ourselves. And we're going to call this project Counter Contract. And I'm going to share the link to the resource I'm using. This is the developer quick start from the Fuel book. So we'll start out by fork, new counter contract. Awesome. And then if we check the file explorer in VS Code, we can see that this looks pretty similar to like a cargo project for Rust developers. And we have a fork.toml, a source, and then a main.sw. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so let's open main.sw, delete the boilerplate, and get going. So we have to start out with a declaration of what type of program this is, and this program is a contract. So we'll declare it as such. And then next, let's define a storage value, and we're just gonna have a single counter that is a type unsigned integer 64, and it'll initialize to a value of 0. Storage counter, and then Rust, you declare the type after a colon. Same thing in Sway. There you go. Awesome. Okay. And so now we're gonna declare an ABI, which is kind of a definition of an interface, but there's not going to be a function body in our ABI. So we'll implement that later. And so it's best practice to kind of implement or to define this in a separate file so that others can import the ABI more easily into the contract. But for the sake of simplicity today, we're just going to put it into the contract file directly. So we'll write ABI counter. And then in here, we're going to add the annotation that the increment function can read and write state or values in storage. We do that as such with the storage read write annotation. And then similarly, we're going to declare a count function, but this will only have the storage read annotation. Ooh, spelling is a challenge today. Okay, fn count, and I didn't mention it, but the increment function does not return anything, whereas the count function returns an unsigned integer 64. Super cool. All right, now let's implement the ABI. So we'll do implement counter for contract, and then we'll add the annotation storage read. Oops. And so function count that returns an unsigned integer 64. This will simply call return storage dot counter, which is the value that we defined up here. Getting lots of error messages today. It's all good though. Okay. Functions are missing. No, it's fine. It's never used. Let's chill. We'll use it later. It's just a little angry right now. Next, let's implement the increment function. I'm getting all these error messages or like angry linting because I have the Sway extension and the Rust Analyzer extension installed for VS Code. So that's why, in case you're wondering, or in case you don't see that as you're following along, install the extensions. And so now for this function implementation, we're gonna, I guess, update the storage counter value. So we're saying storage.counter. No, it's spelled right. Spelling is weird sometimes. Like a word looks like it should be like it's spelled wrong, but it's not. So storage.counter equals storage.counter plus 1. Great. Okay. So now let us build our contract because we don't need those extra lines. Let me close this file hierarchy on the left, make it a little less squished. But in kind of review, we have contract declaration so that we know what kind of program this is. We have our storage, and then we have our ABI with the annotations on functions to indicate which ones can read and which ones can write storage. And then here we implement the actual function logic. So for count, we're returning the storage.counter value, which is a unsigned integer 64. And then for increment, we're simply adding 1 to storage counter, incrementing. Great. So I'm going to expand the terminal a little bit. And let's do fork build. Ooh, cannot find a valid fork.toml. And that's because I'm in the wrong directory, which is totally chill. So let's change into counter contract. Now let's do fork build one more time. And you can see our contract compiled. And we can actually have a look at the contents of our folder and see what changed. So we have a whole new subdirectory called out, which contains build artifacts such as JSON representation of our ABI and the contract bytecode. Sweet. Okay, so we're in the counter contract directory. We've built our contract. Now let's write a test. And for this, we're going to use cargo generate. So we'll quickly install cargo generate, and then we'll continue. So cargo install, cargo generate, and then we're going to generate the default test harness. And we're going to use kind of a template from Fuel Labs that is a Sway test RS template that we can use for our counter contract. So once the crate is finished installing, we'll be able to generate the default test harness. This is where I need some lo-fi music to fill the noise. All right, we're getting there. This will only be the first time when you're installing cargo generate. I don't know if you can hear my fan on my computer, but it's working hard right now. Combination of OBS recording and installing cargo generate. All right, we're getting there almost. Thanks for your patience. Another 20-ish to install or to compile. But I'm ready. I'm ready for that test harness. I want assurances that my code is working as expected. I won't be able to sleep at night unless I know that the tests are running. But tests are really important. I'm only joking, partially. The last 10. Oh, the last 9. This is the most thrilling part of Rust or Sway, waiting for stuff to install or compile. Could be worse. This could be a nice time to refill your coffee or your water, your preferred beverage. Maybe heat up a quick snack. Make sure your blood sugar levels are staying optimal. 5 to go, and then I can stop ranting about nothing and get back into Sway. Getting there. That'll be the quote of the day, getting there. I've said that too many times already. So close. Come on. Come on. Oh, it's building. Sweet. All right. Now let's generate the default test harness. So I'm going to do cargo, generate, init, Fuel Labs, Sway, templates. Let me spell that right. Sway test rs. Then dash name, counter, contract. And then slam that enter button. So it should be generating our template shortly. It's just, it's thinking. And we're done. Okay. And so now we have a whole new tests directory with a harness. And so we also have a cargo.toml. And this will specify all the required dependencies, including fuels for our harness. Okay, so let's add some tests to our harness. I'm going to open harness.rs and let's delete everything that's already there. Actually, no, let's not do that. I think the boilerplate is necessary. So at the bottom, below all the boilerplate, if we read it, we indicate that we have an instance of our contract we can use to test. So let's define the body of a contract, or of our can get contract ID function. And let me look for that. That's right here. Okay, great. Let's delete this comment right here and update that with some real code. So to start, we're going to increment the counter. We'll do that by saying let results equals instance methods dot increment dot call await unwrap. Next, let's get the current value of the counter. I'm going to do that like this. So let results without the leading underscore equals instance methods dot count dot call dot await dot unwrap. And then finally, let's check that the current value of the counter is 1, because we recall that the initial value of the counter was 0 and we incremented it. So let's do assert EQ, which is just a macro from Rust, like an assertion comparing two values. So result.value 1. Okay, so let's run our test. Let's save our file and do cargo test. So things are being built, I guess, so we can't actually run it yet. We're blocked, but that's chill. Just wait a little bit. You can see the Rust analyzer is running, and just checking some stuff in the background. I guess we're building the actual code. Okay. Oh, there it is. Ooh, we got a lot to build. 430. Okay. But it's great that we're running our first test. Still compiling and building our program, but after it's finished, we'll be running one test and hopefully it passes. I guess while we're waiting for the tests to build and compile, you can see that we have just everything in this counter contract directory. We have the fork.toml, which is kind of where our fork project manifest is. And then similarly, we have the cargo.toml for our tests. Our actual contract code lives in source main.sw. It's Sway, whereas our tests Our harness lives in test/harness.rs, and it's written in Rust. So there might be slight syntax differences when you're writing your test versus when you're writing your contract. So just to know, they're going to be pretty minimal, if any. So we're getting close. The last few crates, and then we should be good to go to run our test. It's always the last one or two that take a while. Oh, we got an error. Nice. Okay. Let's see what happened. A local variable with a similar name exists. Interesting. Cannot find instance in the scope. Ah. Weird. Okay, let's try to fix this and see what's going wrong. So, let instance. Okay. There we go. So in the docs, instance does not have a leading underscore, whereas in the generated code for the harness it does. So we just need to replace instance with underscore instance, and then we should be good to go to run. Ooh. Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, I'm just tripping. Oh no, I'm not. Something weird happened. Okay. Why is there... Let result equals instance. Okay, yeah. I don't like that. That auto replace. I guess it just needs the type. I guess that's just the helper. That's chill. Okay. I'm just being salty for no reason. Let's try this again. Now that we have the correct instance with the leading underscore, let's do cargo test. It should be way quicker. And then we should have just run test. One test that runs. The can get contract ID. I expect it to pass unless something goes wrong. That's part of the fun. Debugging when things go wrong. Awesome. And our test passed. We can get contract ID. Great. And so that is going to do it for today. We're going to call it. Next time, we'll move on to deploying the contract. And then on the final session, we're going to create a simple front end to interact with our deployed contract. Thanks for hanging out today. I'm Alex. This has been Code Along with Alex. I'll see you next time.